Hey guys, my name is Paris with the Rise to the Top Call Center Consulting, and we are live for our Let's Talk IBO session that we do monthly. Today, we are actually going to be talking about the new lawsuit that has been brought against Arise Virtual Solutions and what it could mean for your IBO as well as for your agents. So, let's get started. Hey, everybody coming in. We are about to get started talking about the lawsuit. So there are actually a couple of lawsuits that are out there right now involving Arise. And honestly, it's not anything that is out of the ordinary. Arise is a major company, so you'll see that there are lawsuits out there left and right about major companies. The lawsuit, though, that we will be discussing today is a little bit different than the previous ones that were brought against Arise. And this lawsuit is being brought by the AG in Washington, D.C. So it's affecting that area. And the biggest difference in this lawsuit is that it is involving the client as well. So not only is Arise Virtual Solutions in this lawsuit, Comcast has also been brought into the lawsuit. And normally on our pages and all of those things, we tell you guys all the time that, we can't say client names because it's a violation of the NDAs and MSAs that we sign with Arise. But two things. Number one, Comcast is no longer a client of Arise's as of, I want to say this year. And this is all public knowledge. So we will say the names. Hey, everybody. Let me bring up the chat box. All right, you guys. I'm going to try to read these chats as we're also talking about this lawsuit. But you guys know I'm not that good with that type of multitasking with reading and talking in the chat. Hey, Shabrita. Hey, Tabitha. So let me pop this PowerPoint up. Can you guys see the PowerPoint on the screen? All right. All right. So as I stated earlier, the Attorney General, the AG, Racine, announces a lawsuit against Arise Virtual Solutions. And they are also including Comcast themselves, the clients, they used to be a client for Arise, in the lawsuit for failing to pay legally due wages to their customer service agents. Now, if you follow legal, I love law, business law, as most of you know. I'm a law school dropout, but I still love law. So I follow legal cases for a lot of corporations and just different small businesses and those sorts of things. But again, Arise has had these types of lawsuits before. You could look back 2015, 2011, I believe 2013. They may have had another one. One was in 2021, and that one is still pending. And there have been a few times where Arise did not win the lawsuits that they had. They, had their settlements or however they agreed to settle the lawsuits in regards to a similar issue. This one is different, though, because it's not just Arise it's being brought against. It is also Comcast that has been dragged into the lawsuit for the same reason of failing to legally pay wages. Now, Washington, D.C., I want to say that the legal wage might be $15 an hour or somewhere near there. And so they are saying that Comcast Cable and Arise was not paying at least that minimum wage, and that they should be classified as employees rather than contractors. Now, let me put this out there, and I'm not speaking for Arise. I'm not affiliated with Arise Virtual Solutions to speak on their behalf. So the things that I say here are strictly my take on what's happening. So I don't want this as it's being set in stone and, oh my gosh, this is Arise saying this. It is not. These are my words, my interpretations, and we're going to have the discussion about it amongst each other as well, because I'm very anxious to hear what your thoughts are on this as well. And I'm also in this going to give you the link to the actual lawsuit if you're interested in reading the whole thing. It's about 100 different things that they mentioned in the lawsuit. I'll attach that here to the video as well in the YouTube group and the Facebook group as well. All right, so the lawsuit is alleging that the customer agents were denied minimum wage, they were denied overtime, sick leave, and all of those other great things that you get if you are an actual employee. The lawsuit also mentions, though, that Arise was specifically targeting women of color as well as minorities in their campaigns. And so they're saying that not only were they underpaying, but they were specifically targeting people of color to service for them. So those are the two big things that are being brought against Arise in this lawsuit. I'm not going to necessarily state whether Arise is doing something or not on this live. I don't want to be brought into any kind of legalities on either side. But for all of us that have been within the Arise network, we kind of know what's happening pay-wise. As far as them specifically targeting people of color, I feel like the call center realm in itself at the lower level, it is predominantly people of color, minorities, women, for one, working in the call center realm. But I can see from the evidence that they presented and the document that I'm going to post on this video where they would get that from. I could see and understand, but I think that call center as a whole that's the market for it. So this Attorney General, Carl Anthony, and I hope I'm saying it correctly, Racine, he has actually brought similar litigation against DoorDash, I want to say Uber, and several other gig wage type of jobs and contract work, and has won most of his cases. He's gotten large settlements for the people in DC for it. So I'm very interested to see, especially because specifically he on the case and he has a very good track record, to see how this turns out. Now, with the client being brought into this, that opens a new element of the other clients that are with the Rise. So this is where it can get possibly sticky for an IBO and for their clients that are coming in. So with Comcast being in DC, undoubtedly it's opening the doors for other clients to be able to be brought in to litigation involving Arise. So they may try to redo the contracts to prevent that. But as I tell you guys, contracts are great, but contracts are not above the law. So as an IBO, I always tell you guys, hey, you should always have an ICA agreement with your agents as well as an SOW. But if you have things in your agreement that are not in alignment with the law or not in alignment with IRS, then they can kind of disregard what you have on there and follow the actual law for it. So I'm interested to see if that's going to be an effect of what's happening here. I think that either way, this is going to lead to some changes within the company that will be beneficial for agents, because going to tech support unpaid has been mentioned in the lawsuit, being required to go to meetings and sessions about your performance is mentioned in the lawsuit. The rigorous metrics, and they said that there was over 25 metrics that Arise had, is also mentioned in that lawsuit. And with it being contract work, they're kind of having too much of a hold on the agents is the big thing mentioned in there. So Arise has been able to kind of skate around this whole gig wage thing, because the way they had their company registered was not as a call center company or staffing company. The last I checked, and I should have checked again before this live, but I didn't. But their company was registered under like a tech company, to where they created tech stuff. So they had it to where the agents and the call center side was not their primary source of income, which the AG on this case is arguing otherwise. They're stating Arise could not be Arise without its agents. With that being said, if that's proven true, then they're definitely supposed to be employees and not contractors. And let me check chat really quick, you guys. Let's see. A bunch of you guys are saying, hey, y'all. Okay. Um, so John, you have the templates from Masterclass. Yes. So in Masterclass, I do give you guys templates, contracts, just kind of a generic base, but I always tell you to go and talk to a lawyer to get the things that you need specifically for your states and stuff like that in it. So we actually run our contracts through lawyers every 6 months. And when we run them through, I do upload them in a masterclass as well. But you still need to get your attorneys from your state, your lawyers. If you have Legal Shield, they do a decent job as well to kind of go through them and just make sure you have what you need to have in there. Now, what I'm anxious to see is this can go one of two ways, because it was also mentioned in the lawsuit that there were 180 agents from that district that serviced Comcast during the time period, and 60 IBOs that had agents. So those IBOs that don't pay what Arise pays, and I'm not judging, I teach you guys there's 4 ways to make money when it comes to fees. You run your business how you want to run your business. But if this is the case and these sort of lawsuits are now coming up for those that pay less than what Arise pays, I feel like this could be, how do I say, they could almost be used as a scapegoat, because if Arise is paying a certain amount and you're paying less than what they pay, and now they're in trouble legally because of the pay to that specific agent, and you as the IBO were not paying the correct amount, that could make you liable as an IBO as well. I'm waiting to see if they're going to bring any of the IBOs into this. I don't think they are in this specific lawsuit. I think that they're really hedge hunting for Arise. And I think that with Comcast, they may be trying to prove a point that these large corporations cannot just hire these gig wage type of services and avoid actually following the law. So Comcast, they're bringing the same, just about the same charges against Comcast, or the same litigation against them as far as the underpaying, the sick pay not being paid, and all of that stuff. They're pretty much hand in hand. What I'm anxious to see is if Comcast and Arise are going to kind of come into unison to combat this lawsuit, or if Comcast is going to say, hey, like, we paid Arise, this was Arise's doing. And kind of step away from Arise and what they have going on. It is in DC only. And I only wonder that because in the lawsuit, they are bringing in litigation, I guess, from other lawsuits to kind of prove that there should be employees within this company. Now, what we have, I didn't, thank God you didn't have any agents on Comcast. I didn't have a lot of agents there either. It was a high turnover with Comcast. We all know the tech issues and all that were occurring. So I didn't really put them in Comcast either, but I can definitely see this affecting other clients, and yes, having nationwide effects. Now, one of two things could happen, because it was already ruled in a couple previous cases that Arise was improperly saying that their agents were misclassifying the agents. So this could either be a huge effect to where they're now having to reevaluate the classification of their workers, which would then also affect other gig wages like live ops and ACD and stuff like that. Probably. So a big difference with, if you look at Arise's model and you look at like ACD, if you look at live ops, and that's one of the things they actually stated in the lawsuit that they're bringing, is how Arise is paying per interval, but technically they're being paid per hour, is what they're saying. And as we all know that on the SOWs, sometimes you'll see a pay per minute. And if you read the SOWs, it states that that's the pay overall, but really they give you the pay, whichever one pays the most. But the pay per minute is supposed to be the base. But they're saying that because it's even though it's per interval, it still comes out to whatever per hour. And that is employee language as well. So when I read that lawsuit as an IBO, one of my big takeaways was I needed to go through my contracts again, honestly, because I know a lot of us IBOs kind of mimic what Arise is doing as far as the pay per interval, and we might look into evaluating breaking down those pay per minute, because that is one thing. Being paid per minute seems to be the difference between one of the differences that could be accounted for in between them being an employee and a contractor. So, like if you look at ACD, if you look at Live Ops, and a few others, they're paid per minute. There is no pay per interval or per hour on their contractors. So, as an IBO, that may be one thing that you want to think about as well, is how you are paying. The other big thing, and I've stressed this from the beginning, was your verbiage. So, this administration, the Biden administration, it's been no secret that they're wanting to crack down on the contractor situations because they feel like a lot of corporations are contracting so that they don't have to pay benefits and kind of shortcutting people. So they're doing their whole thing as far as trying to do their own crackdown. And I've been waiting for the American Something Act to see if they were going to put it through as well, because that's a whole nother cup of tea that Arise would have to deal with, and some of these other gig wage places would have to deal with if the Biden administration pushes through what they're planning to push through for gig wage type of jobs. So, as an IBO, what does this mean for you? Well, it could mean a lot. It will depend on how this lawsuit turns out. And honestly, I will be all on top of this, you guys. So y'all are going to know how it turns out because I'm going to be telling you. I'm going to be all on top of it, following it. Not just because I love law, but because there's so many of you in the groups and that I know want the information. So if Arise goes the route of being forced into turning their people into employees, as an IBO, it could either be A, it's decided that why do we need IBOs? Or B, it could be decided that, well, we'll do a partnership with the IBOs, almost like a staffing agency, bringing them in as employees, kind of like a Kelly Connect or something like that. And I don't know if you guys have staffing agency contracts. I have one with our call center. I have one, and that does through employees. And what we do is we just bring the agents on board, give them all the information, we onboard them, and then we hand them over to the staffing agency that puts them in as employees. That could be a great route. And for an IBO, that would be amazing, right? Because now you're not having the hurdles and the battles of paying for certification, contracting, not getting paid when they go to tech support. Like that would alleviate all of those hurdles. So that would be great. And it'd be beneficial for the agents. If they're able to somehow circumvent all of this and come out on top and continue on with their contractor model, there will undoubtedly be changes to the verbiage and changes to the way that things are carried out. Now, this is a corporation, so we know that this can sit in court for years. But again, the Biden administration is cracking down. This AG has an immaculate record for winning these type of cases. So I don't think that they'll be able to tie this up for years like you generally could as a corporation. As an IBO, I tell you guys all the time, get your feet wet in Arise, build your business, and then start diversifying out so that you have more than one option, letting Arise be a partner with you and not your whole company. I'm definitely stating that that's a great idea now. Now, a couple of you guys are asking, do I feel like it's worth it to be an IBO still? Yes, I do. I will always feel like this is a wonderful stepping stone into business, period. So this is not oh my God, you guys be scared and worried. I actually was not even going to mention the lawsuit since it didn't seem to really be out, but I knew the moment that someone put it in the group, everybody would start panicking. So I said, let me get ahead of this and let's just talk about it and get it out there. I think either way, the change is going to bring some welcome changes. It's going to cost Arise some money. It definitely is. And they'll end up having to recoup their funds, and we'll see how they do that. But the changes I think this is going to bring will be beneficial for everyone. What questions do you guys have about this lawsuit that's happening? And he just brought the lawsuit in January against the Rise. So we're at the very beginning of it. I'm sorry, I keep messing up my glasses. I literally just got them a couple days ago. I'm still trying to get used to wearing them. Do I have courses on the other streams of income? Not yet, you guys. I actually have one. It's going on pre-sale on my birthday in March. I do have a course coming out on procuring clients outside of Arise. So, but that won't happen until my birthday, which is March the 30th. The attorney, Racine, I feel like I'm slaughtering his name, but it's Carl Anthony Racine is his name. So let me run you through the rest of this PowerPoint so that you guys can see kind of exactly what's being stated. So as you see, they're saying that Arise's agents are the heart of the company, so they could not operate their business without the agents. They're seeking to hold Comcast liable for these wages, and the penalty on this is astronomical. It was like first of all, there were several fees for several different parts of this lawsuit, but one of the biggest ones, it was like $50 to $350 per day per agent that they were in violation of. And we all know that Comcast had been with the Rise for years, so you're talking about some money coming out. Honestly, they'll probably try to settle out of court, maybe, but I don't feel like this AG is going to allow this to just easily go away with a couple of dollars. They're also stating how legally Arise has the power to hire and fire, determine their rate of pay, require the supervisor meetings. They're controlling with all this digital surveillance and apparatus. They're doing all of this, as someone said earlier in the chat, micromanaging. Which would be very indicative of the employee relationship that they should be having with the Rise, according to the lawsuit. Somebody asked, how can they join in on the lawsuit? So, you guys, I do IBO stuff, and I'm not trying to get kicked off the platform. But if you're in that DC area, you could probably just reach out to the office if you're interested in knowing more about the lawsuit. Do know if you do jump into any litigation, obviously against the Rise, that at that point you're probably no longer wanting to be affiliated with the platform. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about the failing to pay for split shifts as well. Split shifts not being paid, which is where they're working 2 or more shifts that are interrupted. They're putting that as well, them not being paid for that. I was like, they definitely been doing their research. And you guys have to click on the lawsuit, because what's not on this PowerPoint is like all the screenshots of like what they took off the websites and the system. They really did their research before they brought the lawsuit. So as an IBO, yeah, the digital surveillance. Oh, you don't see the PowerPoint on YouTube? Oh my gosh. You guys didn't say anything to me before. Has it been the whole time you didn't see the PowerPoint? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm going to click back through it briefly. All right. So as an IBO, how can we protect ourselves? So I'm going to be honest with you. As an IBO, if you're set up in the same way that Arise is set up, and what they're doing is declared to not really be legal with the misclassifications, then you're kind of in that same violation. I said, if you don't have any contracts right now, you definitely need them. But even with contracts, if it's a violation of the law, they can still come after you. I said, I don't anticipate them bringing any IBOs in. My biggest concern would be with the IBOs that are not paying what Arise pays, because if you're doing and giving exactly what Arise is giving you through your partnership, then that's kind of on Arise at that point, right? Because you can't give them any more through the partnership because Arise hasn't given you any more. But if you are one of those companies that pay less than what Arise pays, you need to make sure that you're staying within the minimum wage and those sorts of things that are happening. Now, that the minimum wage did not apply to contractors, but as you see here, they're coming at them stating that they shouldn't even be contractors. So if they win that point, they will get them for that minimum wage. And I'm just trying to go through the PowerPoint for you guys really quick. I said, but these points will be added in the video anyway, where you can just download the whole lawsuit. All right. What other questions do you guys have? Yes, they are looking for money. And from the penalties that it states they could face, it's a lot of money. Like, this is millions, millions and millions of dollars. As an IBO, if we pay the agent what Arise pays, how are we going to make any money? So it does not pay a lot. Okay, so I mean, right now as an IBO, if you're paying what Arise pays, then most of you are making money off of the fees. Generally, if you're paying what Arise pays, then you're charging a platform fee. The other big thing as an IBO that you want to make sure you're doing while all of this stuff is going on is, and I stressed this before, is using templates. So I think one of the big issues here, and I'm waiting to see if it's going to come out in a lawsuit because I've complained of the same thing before as well, is the fact that a lot of the people partnered with the Rise that may be in a more QA type of position or above that are sending emails that are really like demanding and kind of out of line with contractor work. So if you're a QAPF, if you are a teacher that teaches certification or an IBO, I really advise you to create templates. And if you don't have Legal Shield, you guys, it's a great time to get it. You can run your templates in the Legal Shield. They'll review 15 pages a month, and make sure they're contractor friendly so that when you're corresponding with anyone, it's all in contractor language. So on the former lawsuit, many businesses have been found guilty and they've had to pay millions. Yeah. So I told you guys, there's already a couple of lawsuits that they did not win in. Like it was declared that they misclassified their agents and I think that's going to be a big point in this lawsuit. And I saw also that they requested a jury trial. So it's not just going to be a lawsuit where it's just the judge trying to figure out, they want a jury. And I mean, honestly, as an AG, with the evidence and the things that he has, it was a smart move. Yeah, the $14.2 million one. And I want to say that it was not paid. So I think that that's going to be a discussion in the lawsuit as well. Again, this is not for y'all to panic. This is not for everybody to be like, oh my God, let me run and drop the business. This is not for that. This is just to keep you in the know so that you kind of know, number one, who you're doing business with, because Arise is your partner. So you need to know who you're in business with and what's happening, as well as kind of keep up with what's happening so that as things are changing, you're making sure your structure, that your company is ahead of the game and doing what you need to do legally. Any more questions about any of this? The lawsuit, what it can mean for you as an IBO, your agents? Like I said, honestly, I feel like this is going to benefit the agents the most because now processes and things have to be put into place that would be beneficial for them. And in turn, as an IBO, it's going to only help you with your company, with recruiting, with managing, with those sorts of things. Kickback with people joining as agents, it might be. I mean, you'll probably get some kickback, but honestly, DoorDash, Uber, all of them, Instacart, well, I don't know about Instacart for sure. I know for sure the DoorDash and Uber have been in this same boat, and it really, people are still joining that. And there's a few other gig wage. Like I said, it's like a whole gig wage situation. It's not just Arise that this is happening with. Was found guilty. Yeah. Now we have to keep in mind, Arise is not a mom and pop. They're not, a $1 million, $2 million company. Like Arise, the last financial reports I saw, they made like $230 million. I think 2019, possibly. I have to go check which year, but it was within the last couple of years, that year alone. So it will undoubtedly affect how things are, but I don't think this is going to just tank Arise as a whole. They have a lot of money backing them. They have a lot of investments in them. They have a lot of clients. Now, it may affect their ability to get clients in some magnitude, but I don't even think that it would do that if they just change, going forward with the new clients. They would just have to change some of the processes. Yeah, this is different because the AG filed it. This was not agents getting together filing just a class action suit. This was the actual attorney general filing, in which he also brought the client in with them. So this case is different than the other cases that we have seen. Yeah, start compensating for the tech issues. Hopefully we'll see some of that coming on board. Yes, there have been other companies to face similar issues. Arise, as you guys know, is one of the largest and one of the larger ones. So obviously taking down the larger ones make it easier to kind of push forth change what they're trying to do with these gig wage laws. But there are other gig wage jobs or gig wage companies that are in this same type of litigation. Yes, it's been going on for a while, actually, with other companies. Would this have to do with the 1099 delay? I don't think so. I don't know what happened with that because I know that they sent out miscellaneouses instead of NECs. I got my corrected stuff, but I know everyone didn't. So I'm not sure what happened there. I do think that this will be a positive change as well. It's kind of one of those painful lessons, those painful positive changes that sometimes we all go through. But I do think at the end of the day, this will be a positive change. Arise had already been making changes because even if you read the actual lawsuit, you'll see some of the things that they mentioned in there were no longer happening in Arise. Some of the things may still be happening, possibly, but some of the things were no longer happening. So they're already making those changes. And Arise is an amazing company to partner with. With them being so large, obviously there's going to be pros and cons, but honestly, you can't name another company that gives you the opportunities, us small businesses, the way Arise does to break into this industry. So I stand not necessarily by Arise and their processes, and I mean, I've had those conversations with Arise themselves, but I most definitely do stand by Arise. All right, you guys. Well, if you don't have any more specific questions with the contracts and everything, we're doing these Let's Talk IBO business sessions. I'm doing a monthly, usually the third Wednesday of every month, but I guess I got my Wednesdays mixed up. For some reason, I thought this was the third Wednesday. So that's why we did it. But yeah, it's the third Wednesday of every month where we're just kind of talking about IBO topics and issues and things that you need to be aware of. I do have more videos coming out on YouTube on other topics. And if you're in masterclass, you guys, we are going live again starting March 8th for our 4-week live quarter. And we're going to go more into this lawsuit in masterclass. I'm actually curating some new content for that now so that we can kind of, as much as we can, try to stay out of the way of this. Now, the new laws that are coming, Sherry, I definitely, and we did talk about that in the beginning with the Biden administration. They're trying to enact, if those go through, it will be a game changer for a lot of what we do. But if Arise ends up having to change their structure with this lawsuit and the new laws come out, it may not hinder us as much as we think it's going to. It's going to really be dependent upon how Arise navigates this. Demario, join the masterclass. I'll put the link under this video. You can just sign up through the link. All right, you guys. Well, it's been a pleasure. I know I went a little bit over our 30-minute time. As I said, as I get information, I'll be doing videos, keeping you updated. Probably be doing more on the Instagram with the videos than on the lives, just because it's a little bit easier. So we're at a rise to the top on all of the platforms. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So thank you guys for watching. I will see y'all next time. Thank you. Oh, hold on, Sherry. I don't want to X out before I read your. Yes, so that's why I said it will depend on the structure of how they navigate this. So there's a chance that they can change their structure and take them on as employees. I mean, and they could still work with the IBOs as far as getting them in as like a staffing situation. And in that circumstance, it would be beneficial. But if they don't and they're still doing contractor stuff and the new administration laws come out, that will be a whole nother ball game. So yeah, I agree with you, Sherry, on that. Thank you. All right, y'all. See you later.